afternoon. My name is Chuck Bornhoft. I'm a volunteer with Literacy Volunteers of Marquette County, and today I'm helping out Wisconsin Literacy and the Wisconsin Health Literacy Program. What we're going to talk about today is medication, and the session today is sponsored by a grant that was provided to Wisconsin Literacy by Security Health Plan. The program we put together has been in coordination with doctors, with pharmacists, with other folks, so it's a very concise, clear presentation for you. I think you will enjoy it. All right, we're going to be using this workbook, and it's yours to take home. We'll be asking you to write in it in a couple of spots, so feel free to do whatever. Okay, turn to page 2. And as you can see, there are a lot of different forms of medication. So when we talk about medicine, it can come in many different shapes, sizes, colors, all that good stuff. We would all probably recognize what a pill is, because we probably all have taken an aspirin or other pills over our life.
Bite's a pill.
There you go. Oh, okay.
A good one, though.
A good pill. Yeah. Your medication could come as a liquid, where you would have to drink it. Lozenges I live off of in the wintertime with my sore throat. If it wasn't for lozenges, I wouldn't be able to talk. If you have asthma or other things, you might use an inhaler. Eye drops are common these days as well. Nasal spray, they're finding more and more drugs will be delivered in a nasal spray. It's easier on your stomach, and it gives a little faster reaction of the drug. So you'll see, I know one of the big ones out now is for the allergy medications. They have a nasal spray that is supposedly very good.
You got that Flomax.
Flomax, yeah. A lot of times they're using patches. If you're doing smoking cessation or other things, you may get a patch. The only thing we caution people about patches is make sure you use it exactly as prescribed. Some people try and cut the patch in half to prolong the number of doses they have. And with a patch, they cannot guarantee that half of a patch would give you half of a dose. That the way it's spread out in a patch, you have to have the whole of the patch to be effective. So just a little caution, if you have any patch medication that you use, make sure you just use the whole patch as prescribed. You could have a cream, gel, or ointment, or you could get your medication by an injection. So I'm sure you all have had some of those, if not all, over your lifetime. Types of bottles. Most of us probably get this type from the pharmacy. It has a dual cap. One that's child-proof, although the children usually can open it faster than I can. And then the other is just for a screw-on. So it's easier if you have arthritis or other problems opening the bottle. Be sure to tell your pharmacist which you want or need, because they're happy to, if you cannot open the child-proof ones, they're always happy to put it in the non-child-proof mode for you. And some pharmacists have 2 different bottles where they have one with either a snap or a twist-on cap, or they have the dual purpose. So be sure to ask your pharmacist if you need any special things when you get your prescription. In the booklet, there's a Target bottle. I thought those were really neat. What Target did was they put a color band, and on the one on the photo you see a blue band. And what they would do is they would put that on for each specific family member. So your prescriptions might be blue, mine might be red, somebody else in the family might be yellow. So when you went to pick up a bottle, you would know, hey, is that my bottle, or is it my spouse's, or my child, or whoever? So you had that a little help when they did that. But I think it's kind of a neat idea, and it helps us when when there's more than one person in the house to make sure you got the right bottle at the right time. Otherwise, they tend to all look a lot alike. You want to keep medicines in a cool, dark, dry place. Keep them away from light whenever possible. So I have a shelf in my closet that's where I keep my medications. Nice and dark, nice and cool. Bathrooms are not a great place to keep them because you have very high humidity in your bathroom. So be careful with that. A lot of us, would place them in our bathrooms. That's not always the best place for them. Some medication is better if it's stored in the refrigerator. So be aware of that. A lot of times on the liquids, they have to be stored in the refrigerator, but sometimes just on pills and other forms of medication, it's better if they're in a cool environment or a cold environment. So ask your pharmacist about that if you have any questions. And the last one is probably most applicable to us now: keep medications out of your car, because you know what it's like when you get in your car after it's sat out in the sun for an hour. That's on capsules, that is not very good at all. They all tend to melt into one big mess. Okay? Page 4. What I'd like you to do, we're going to talk about prescription labels, but what I'd like you to do is to take this half of the room, take label 1, and this side, take label 2, and answer the 3 questions pertaining to each label. Use the examples in the book. Okay, let's take a look at this large label. Unfortunately, we don't get any that large on our prescriptions. We would be able to read them clearly and concisely. What information is given to us on the label? A lot. Okay.
Pharmacy.
Help me.
Pharmacy, the phone number, the doctor.
Well, before we go too far, who is the phone number of?
The pharmacy.
The pharmacy. A lot of people get confused and think that's their doctor's phone number. So yes, on the label, it is the pharmacy's phone number. And you have the pharmacy address. Okay. What else?
Doctor.
Doctor who prescribed the medication for you. Unfortunately now in the clinics that we all go to, sometimes I get prescriptions that it's not my doctor, that it's somebody on their team. So don't panic necessarily if you see an unusual name there. If my doctor was on vacation and I needed a refill and it came back under a different doctor's name, at first I was like, hold it, is this right? But yes. So that sometimes will throw people. Each pharmacy will give each prescription a specific number to help them identify what your prescription was for. It helps them cross-reference the actual prescription with the records of the filling process. It will provide your name. So your name should be on the bottle or the package or whatever. And then it also should have your address. On each prescription label will be the information for when or how to take the medication. Unfortunately, when we try and put all of that information on this little container, it gets hard to read and they don't always put a whole lot of words in. This one, for example, take 1 or 2 tablets every 4 to 6 hours as needed for pain. A very good description of how to take the medication. On the label itself will also always tell you the name of the drug. And in this case, it's acetaminophen with coding number 3. 330 milligrams. It will tell you the size of the tablets. If any of you have had this before, this is the same, this is generic Vicodin. So if you're thinking you were getting Vicodin and you get all of a sudden acetaminophen coating number 3, and you say, geez, that's not right, it is. They filled it with a generic so they don't use the name brand of the drug. And it gives you the strength. Usually it will be in milligrams. A liquid may be in milliliters. So if it's a label from a liquid prescription, you may see ml. It also tells you how many were dispensed, quantity. In this example, 30 were dispensed. It gives you a use by date. My pharmacy, on some drugs, it's a 6-month out from the day it was filled, and on other drugs, it's a year out. So I don't think it's a uniform standard across the board. I think it depends on the individual drug. But typically, you'll see that the use before date is 6 or 12 months after the date it was filled. And then on the label, it will also tell you if you have any refills on the drug. Yes, sir.
You missed the date it was filled.
Date it was filled, very good. And this one is 8 months difference. So that blows my 6 and 12 months theory right out of the water. Just when you think you understand what they're doing, they change things. So be aware of that. Medication is not like wine. It does not improve with age. So it's not good to keep it around. So if it's old, dispose of it, although I'll caution you, please dispose of it properly. Most communities have a way that you can dispose of it. And if
I have to take it to the police in Wisconsin Rapids.
Okay, good. Yeah, most police stations do it. Depends on your area. That's how we do it where I live as well. So that's not uncommon at all.
Yeah, don't put it in your water.
Yeah, don't flush it down the toilet. Yeah, don't do that. Yes, ma'am.
What do you cover on the bottle? Just the person's name or?
I'm real paranoid about identities and stuff like that, so I take a black Sharpie
Yeah, that's what I
and obliterate it all.
Oh. I thought they had to know what it was.
Pardon?
I thought they had to know what was in the bottle.
Well, I have no problem leaving the type of drug,
Okay.
but anything with me or the number,
Uh-huh.
I black most of that out, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would suggest not leaving your name on those after you turn them in.
I actually haven't done it here in Rapids, so I don't know if they require you to tell who you are when you turn in.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. No, I've turned in some for myself, for my mother-in-law, and they're just happy that you're doing it properly.
So you can give them to like Walgreens or Walmart pharmacy and stuff, or not?
I'm not sure. I don't know if they will take
I
them.
don't think so.
Okay, I don't
No,
I don't know for sure. Where I live in Marquette County, you turn them in at the police department.
Oh, okay,
This
that's
is for
what.
leftover old pills.
Leftover.
You're not talking about-
I was thinking just empty bottles.
No, 'cause empty bottles, they can't reuse because they don't know
So can't reuse them.
they don't know what was in there, and even the fact that you had, pills in
So
there,
you gotta get rid of them.
enough of the coating could be on there to cause a problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
2 things. Empty bottles, I wasn't going to talk about this, but the church up by the courthouse, the
Yeah.
community church,
They come-
they accept the empty
There's a
bottles.
certain way that they have to clean them, and then we send them to Africa.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
The other thing was, I think I read, or else it's my great idea. Instead of turning the bottles into the police department and the pills, pour the pills into a plastic bag and so you can either recycle or give the bottles away.
The only problem with that would be if they really need to know what the drug
Yeah,
is when they're
But
recycling.
they don't care.
I'm not sure that they do. That's a very good question, though. I have a friend that I golf with who's a pharmacist, so
There's a whole
I will ask him.
procedure that requires them to know what medicine is.
Yeah, because if
The
it's...
police?
There's a whole disposal procedure that they need to know what the medicine is. Each medicine is dealt with differently.
I don't think they just put it all together in one big dumpster, and
If they burn it, that wouldn't make any difference.
I don't know how they dispose of it.
I used to work for 3M, and 3M's got a whole division called Chemolite. And everything that 3M makes can be disposed of in some way, shape, or form, but it all has to be separated. It has to be separated so they can dispose of it properly. And the medicines don't go to Chemolite. Chemolite's a 3M facility only. But each medicine has to be separated so it can be disposed of properly. They've got different procedures for everything. The object of taking it in for disposal is to no longer have it be a toxic material. When it's returned to whatever landfill procedure that they've got, they don't just dispose of it.
Burn.
They detoxify it.
Yeah.
Neutralize
Neutralize it. Good discussion. Somebody on this side from label 1. How many times a day do you need to take that medication?
2.
Okay. And how many pills do you take each time?
1.
1. And how many refills can you get?
1.
Awesome. Great job. Label 2. Somebody over here, help me out. How many times a day do you take the prescription?
3.
3. Good. And how many pills do you take each time?
2.
Good. And how many refills?
2.
Awesome. You guys have the hang of it. A+ so far.
That's great. I like that.
I do too. Makes my job easy.
In school, I didn't get that many.
Today is a different day. It's a new day.
There you go. That's a good.
There you go. All right. When should you take your medicine? And this is something that I think doctors can improve upon, and we as patients need to take a more active role in. As you can see, there's a couple of examples. Take 1 tablet 2 times a day. Okay, does it matter morning or night?
And it also doesn't tell you if you take it with food.
With food or without food,
Or with-
empty stomach, with, with
Yeah.
certain whatever. Yeah, it kind of leaves it in your ballpark. I know most of the cholesterol medications are better if you take them in the evening.
Right.
That it works better with your system if you take it right before bedtime. Other medications are better first thing in the morning. So be aware of that. Some medications may have caffeine or other stimulants in it that if you take it right before bed, you're not going to fall asleep very soon. So be sure you check on those things. And again, take 2 times a day. Do I have to space them out? Can I take it with breakfast and dinner to help me remember? Or does it have to be a specific time between the 2? So those are all things to contemplate. Label number 4, take 2 tablets as needed for pain. Not very specific. Okay, I get it, I have pain and I'll take the first 2, but when do I take the next 2? Or don't I? And it doesn't tell me that.
And how many is the most that you can?
Yeah, if you look at aspirin or Tylenol, it'll tell you the most you can take in a 24-hour period is X. And it doesn't tell you that here. And I'm sure they don't want you to take 2 every 2 hours. And A, you probably don't have enough in your bottle to get you through all that. But B, it isn't good for you to do that. So sometimes you need to ask the pharmacist what is the best thing for this drug. And while your doctor has all that information, I tend, when I'm at my doctor's, not to ask those specific questions. He hands me the prescription and, okay, take these, and I'm giving you the prescription, and I don't get specific with it. And so when I get it from my pharmacist, I really appreciate that he says, okay, take this with food, take this on an empty stomach, this would be better in the morning, this would be better at night, this would be better at noon. Or if it's one, like one of the ones we saw over here, the take 2 capsules 3 times a day, does that mean 8 hours apart? Or could I take them with breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or do I have to plan on 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and midnight, which wouldn't make me real happy to have to do that. So be aware that that's out there. And don't hesitate to ask your doctor or pharmacist. Like I said, my experience is your pharmacist is probably quicker and faster and easier to get the info from. You also have their number right on your label. So if you walk out of the pharmacy without knowing, when should I take this? Give them a call. They're normally easier to get a hold of than trying to get a hold of your physician. And they're happy to work with you. I've never met one that wasn't happy to to stand there and talk about the specific medication, any problems, any potential side effects, and that type of thing. And they are a very good source because they've got all of the medications you're taking. Sometimes you may go to a cardiologist and all they're concerned about is your heart medication. So they're not thinking about these 3 others that you may be taking. And they may have some adverse effects, so be aware of that. They should be asking, but that doesn't always happen, and it's good that we have the pharmacist as kind of the shortstop to make sure all is covered. Good, good, good. The labels. You can see the special instructions. Some, they have a sticker that says, take with food. They have a sticker, may cause drowsiness, shake well, do not drink alcohol when on this medication. The problem is when you have a bottle this size, if they were to put all 4 stickers or more stickers on there, you wouldn't read the other part of the label. So while the stickers are helpful, and some pharmacies do a very good job of labeling your bottle with the appropriate sticker, there may be 2 or more that apply, and they just went with what they perceived as the #1 issue, not some of the others. So don't rely totally on the sticker. I found that the pharmacy I go to, that we have a young pharmacist and an old pharmacist. And the old pharmacist never puts a sticker on the bottle, because that's not how he was trained. The new guy, every bottle's got stickers all over the place. And I love it because it's giving me more information. But I mean, it's the same pharmacy, and there's 2 different ways that the pharmacy comes out. So if you happen to have it filled by the new guy, you get your warnings. If it's filled by the old guy, you don't necessarily get your warnings. And think of a Walgreens that's open 24/7, how many pharmacists they have in there throughout the day. And if you can't get 2 people to agree on what to do, think of what it is when you got 20 or more, or however many may be there. So while they're encouraged to let us know by putting stickers on the medication, be aware that it doesn't always happen. So sometimes you may want to ask those things. The big thing we want to be concerned about is your over-the-counter medications. Because a lot of times the doctor is not aware of any over-the-counter that you're talking about. I like getting my over-the-counter drugs at the pharmacy that fills my prescriptions, because I can go up and say, is this any problem with, NyQuil? Is this going to hurt anything with what I'm taking? Or, I had some allergies, and, well, what do you recommend with, what I'm taking? And, well, here, I do this or do that. They're very helpful in putting you in the right direction, but there are many over-the-counter drugs that will interact with your regular prescriptions. So be aware of that. And while a lot of times we think of an over-the-counter medication as just that, it's safe. While it isn't regulated like the prescription, it still can have side effects. And so if you're aware of that, if you're taking Vicodin, it already has the Tylenol in it. So you can't take more Tylenol if you're taking this medication, because you would be getting too much Tylenol in your system. So if you're taking that, your doctor will tell you to take Aleve or take aspirin or whatever to assist with your pain management, but stay away from that same drug. Well, if you didn't know acetaminophen was Tylenol, you might think, okay, I'll just take 2 Tylenol every 4 hours. It could be harmful to you.
What about like vitamin E, fish oil, and flaxseed oil? Are they safe to take, those things?
For the most part, yes. But again, ask. Because they can counteract. And you're great question and great timing, because that was one of my next few points. Vitamins and supplements are the same way.
I take that Centrum Silver.
Silver, yeah.
That's 50 and plus.
Right.
I take one of those in the morning, each morning.
And for the most part, that won't hurt you, and it's all good. You can have toxicity from vitamins. Most vitamins will work through your system, and it'll go through you, and you're not going to have any ill
So
effects.
you can take 2 a day. I just take the 1. I
Yeah.
take 1 in the morning.
Isn't your
That's
doctor
it.
know?
Yeah, I told him about it.
But like vitamin C, there's some people that believe you can take just, a raft. Only a small portion of what you would be taking, the body can actually use. Most of it's going to go through, and the kidneys will filter it out, and it'll be gone. So you're not better. More isn't always better.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just to aid in your question, flaxseed oil isn't meant for men, it's meant for women. It mimics estrogen. Men need testosterone, they have no need of estrogen. Flaxseed is not for men.
Don't take it.
You hear that it's supposed to be everything smoother with it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of stuff, and,
Yeah, the doctor never said not to take it. I got it on there that I take it.
Well, and a lot of times they don't always know either what the relationship is there. And that's why you want to make sure even your over-the-counter stuff, somebody is reviewing it with you. So ask your pharmacist.
And Mike, Centrum Silver, you have enough silver. You got gold, you got the soul.
Okay, there
What
you
do
go. Yeah, she's gold right here.
Also with the vitamins, I was told that I'm supposed to take vitamin D, but not to take it with one of the medications, because it cancels out or makes it hard to digest the
Yep.
vitamin D, so you have to watch that.
Yeah, so even though it's over the counter, you can go buy vitamin D, it still may have an impact for you. So be aware of that, and realize that whenever you're putting a chemical in, it could have an adverse effect. Yes?
Just to let you know, not to take away from what he's saying, but one of the ministers at the churches that I attend is just about an expert on nutraceuticals, not pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. You need to know anything and he'll tell you. He's just very, very, very knowledgeable about nutraceuticals. You know the difference between nutraceutical and a pharmaceutical? Correct. Nutraceutical is natural, or supposed to be natural. Pharmaceutical is what you get from a pharmacy.
Okay.
It's a chemical.
Yeah.
That's not saying that they don't have an interaction with each other, they do.
And what works for you may not work for me.
And if you know anybody that wants some flaxseed oil, I've got like 6 bottles to give away. That's how I found out.
Okay.
But, be aware of that. My brother-in-law is a farmer and had knee issues. And he just found the greatest thing on an infomercial. And it's an over-the-counter medication, and he needed a knee replacement. And as a result of taking this, he's 20 years younger. He's, not needing his knee replaced right now, and he just swears by this stuff. So my 98-year-old mother-in-law hears of his success, and she thinks, well, if it works for him, it's going to be great for me. So she orders some of it. Well, it didn't work so great for her, and in fact created some of the negative issues, the other side effects, stomach irritation, stuff like that, and it really was causing her more problems than it was solving with the joint issue. So just because somebody tells you, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world, your system may not do the same thing for it. And so that's why it's also important to talk about that with your physician, with your pharmacist. What do you hear about this, you know? My wife asked our doctor what he thought of it, and he said, I don't think it would matter. So if you think by taking it you feel better, take it. But he said, medically, I don't think it's going to do anything for you. Then you think about a placebo effect of medication. If you think you're better, maybe you are better. So that may work too. So be aware of that.
Is the placebo effect the same thing as psychosomatic?
Sure, quasi. I had a heart issue about 10 years ago, and the theory at the time was you took Plavix for the rest of your life. And so I've been taking Plavix for the rest of my life. Now I go in and talk to my cardiologist, and he says, well, you know, the new school of thought is that you really only need that for a year.
That's what I told her too.
And I said, oh, okay, well, let's cut it out then. Well, you're not having any adverse reaction to it, let's just keep it. And I was like, why did you tell me that there's this new school of thought out there if we're not going to try it? I'm willing to give it a shot. If there's a problem, I would go back and take it again, but, so that changes over time, And I wonder, I've been taking it for 10 years. I haven't had any problems, but is that because of Plavix or is that because of other things? And at times I wonder, would I be better just throw all this stuff out and let's start new and find out what today's problems are and address them today, or how do you handle that?
Should you take your quit cold turkey, or do you have to
Depending on the drug.
wean yourself?
Depending on the drug, if you're on an antidepressant, you should taper off those. I would only do it after you talk to your doctor
Yes.
and verify what is necessary for you for this drug. I'm still taking my Plavix because he wouldn't say, well, let's try it. He said, well, let's keep doing it. So I was like, okay, we'll keep doing it.
What about generic pills? Are they any better than the regular ones? We're getting pills from every state in the world.
Well, and for the most part, they are fine. My son is a chemist for a generic drug manufacturer, and what he tells me is the only thing different is the buffers used. The active ingredients of the medication are chemically the same. So if it has 3 parts of this and 4 parts of that, that's a constant. But to put it into a pill form or to put it into a capsule, they have to use a buffer to hold it together. That is what changes from manufacturer to manufacturer. So the people who do, give me a name brand drug, Plavix, to the generic I get, which is clopidogrel, the only thing supposedly different is the buffer.
I'm on Coumadin, and
Okay?
I don't take the generic because it doesn't work with me. I tried it.
And that's
So
the other
there's something different about it.
That's the other thing. And sometimes, while it's chemically the same, it may be different and you may need to take the name brand drug. Sometimes people are better with the generic than with the name brand.
I don't think so.
So it's a matter of your system and what works. So talk to your
They're cheaper,
doctor.
that's about it. Why should they be cheaper? Yeah. That's what I don't understand.
Why aren't they cheaper?
If it's the same pill, why are they cheaper than the regular ones?
Because they didn't have to pay for all the research development and all of the testing. Where the manufacturer of the name brand is trying to get their expenses out of it. To develop a medication, to get it patented and to do the test trials and to get it approved by the FDA is a very strenuous and expensive process.
Why do these pills come from different states? You know, sometimes they come from Mexico, sometimes they come from China. I don't understand that either. And then the different color or different
Yeah.
size pill, I don't get that.
Because the color and size is not part of what is necessary. So if the generic manufacturer can get by without putting a color in it, that's an expense that they're not going to go for. And therefore they just take it and, you know, do it chemically the same and change the buffer so it's not a pink color and it just comes out as a white looking pill. But chemically it's the same. But generic manufacturers are like anybody else. They're trying to make money selling a product, and they make money by selling lots of it at a low price. Where, you know, your name brand drugs, they may not sell as much of it, but they have to get all of their costs back. And I can tell you from my experience with them, the FDA, when they come out and inspect a plant and make sure the drug is being produced properly, it is extremely thorough, and you should have nothing to worry about with a generic drug. That the manufacturers, even though they're making it maybe someplace else, China, Mexico, wherever, it's still inspected by the FDA and held to our standards, which is different from medication in other countries. My son used to work for Johnson & Johnson, and he had a drug called Remicade, which was an intravenous drug for rheumatoid arthritis. And they had a process for making part of the drug in Switzerland. And so he had to go to the plant in Switzerland to make sure that everything was being done correctly and all that with the FDA representative. And they would go and test and make sure that it was 5 parts this, 4 parts that, and it met the criteria. Now that drug at the time was like $2,500 a dose. But it was just unreal, and you'll see a lot of it in chemotherapy. There's a lot of that in the news on the price on chemotherapy drugs. But it takes so much time and research before they can get it approved that's why the costs are so high.
And who determines how long the time frame is before a brand name drug can be made generically?
I believe it's 7 years.
It's just a standard 7 years?
I believe so.
And does the FDA, who regulates that?
Well, the industry probably pretty much does it, they realize that, okay, in 7 years I can make that, or a generic manufacturer can make that. But is it economical for them to do that? They will study certain drugs, and are enough of them being prescribed that it would be beneficial to a generic manufacturer to make that drug. So there's a lot of decisions that go into that process too. Because some drugs just aren't widely used, and therefore it's easier just not to make that as a generic. So you will find drugs that there really is no generic out there. And you have to get the name brand because that's all there is. Good discussion, excellent. Remembering to take medication. You have to sometimes remember, if you're like me, I have to have it in my routine, or I would forget it. That I have to do it at a specific time. I take mine in the morning at 7 o'clock when I get up, and the evening ones I take at 7 o'clock in the evening. And if I don't do that, I'll go to bed and forget to take them, and be, oops, I didn't do that. If you miss a dose, 90% of the time they will tell you, forget it. Just take it at the next scheduled time. So if you have morning and evening pills and you didn't take the evening pills, don't take those the next morning when you found out you didn't take them. Wait till the next evening and just take them at that point in time. Use a pill box. We've got some for you guys. And Jane will pass these out later, but
Oh, wonderful.
Nice ones.
nice ones.
When you go on vacation, that's a good one for.
Even around town. It gives you 4 times each day, and you can pop out each day,
That's nice.
which is kind of neat. So you don't have to flip the whole thing over and have something open and have a heck of a mess. So
Are they in stores?
Yes, but you pay 20
you can get these in stores.
bucks. 20 bucks.
$20. You're getting one for being here.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, use it. They are handy. If it wasn't for my pill box, I would be going crazy trying to keep them
Stella.
straight and everything else.
Stella, I can do 2 weeks now.
Yeah, there you go. You got one. You may want to keep a list of your medications. The doctors, when they see you, they normally want to go over what medications you're on. It would be difficult to bring all those bottles in, so I keep a little index card listing all my medications and the strength and when I take them. So keep a medicine checklist. That will help you. And as I said, set up a daily routine. If I didn't do it at morning and at 7 at night, I'd be all over the place. I'd be halfway out the door thinking, did I take those or not? And now I don't have to think about it. It's on autopilot. If I do my normal morning routine, all is good. So try and do that. Leave your medicine where you can see it. So it's not a bad idea to keep this front and center. Be aware if you have children, grandchildren, pets, keep it covered, keep it out of harm's way. But sometimes it doesn't hurt to keep this out front and center. If you take your pills in the bathroom, I would pop today's out and put it on my bathroom counter, whatever works for you. Remembering what we talked about before, that it's not good to store your drugs in the bathroom, but a day's worth won't hurt it. If you had a month's worth sitting in your bathroom, that could be a problem. So feel free to use those, and everybody will get one, so you'll have those. And any questions? Yes, ma'am.
We talked about disposal of pills and that. How do you dispose of liquid medicine?
In the container, the exact same way.
Okay.
That your police department will take those, and they have to go through their prescribed procedures on how they dispose of all of it. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a thought, we have security health plan, and we have pharmacist consultant. Part of our plan provides that, and that has been very helpful.
Good to hear.
I keep in constant contact with her.
And that's been my experience. It's easier to talk to the pharmacy types than it is to talk to the doctor. I mean, if you call trying to talk to your doctor, you get their triage system first. You might get the nurse on a second or third call, but rarely are you going to, pick up the phone and, hey, doc, what about this?
Right.
Where with a pharmacy, specialist or the pharmacist where you're having it filled, they're there and they're usually right there to respond. So that's another good thing. So if your health insurance allows for that, to have a prescription, consultant in essence, take advantage of it.
Yeah,
And they may have some very good recommendations.
they do.
You got a question?
I forgot what it was.
That's my excuse.
In Port Edwards, the container that the police have to take used medication isn't very big at all. And I think that's what prompted me to ask, maybe I'm making this up, I don't know, whether, you could just bring the pills in a plastic bag or not. And I think they said yes.
And if they say yes, I'd go with what they said. The one we have is rather small. If you had a large liquid I don't know how it would fit in the container.
Yeah.
So you'd have to give it to somebody physically
Yeah.
and let them do what they can with it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. We're gonna have for you a little booklet if you want to take it. It has frequently asked questions. So if there's things that you're unsure of or want to double check, it's available for you. Anything else I can do? If not, I want you to spend about 5 minutes talking with some of your compadres, asking some questions about medication. So if 3 or 4 of you will get together and go through a few of these, then we can share with the rest of the group.
There's no, what does light do?
The sunlight can remove some of the efficacy of artificial light, not as much, but
And if you have them in a pill binder,
and that's why most of them are and again, if you had a week's worth here and that was out by sunlight, that's not going to be tough. But if you have your 90-day supply sitting out in the sunlight,
when you said buffer, you mean the inactive.
right, chemical has to be the same.
Yeah. And people want to believe that.
I didn't always believe it either. There's a drug I was on, and when they tried to put me in engineer, it didn't work. And I had a heck of a time with the insurance company getting them to go back and pay for the name brand. And my son was a chemist for generic manufacturing. He's telling me it's the same stuff. It's exactly the same. You know, it's like, well, am I crazy?
Yeah.
Or why is it the name brand works, the generic doesn't? And that's what he said. It could be the buffering agent, and that's maybe enough. Just to push you one way or the
You
other.
wouldn't think it would be.
You wouldn't think so. But it's not always a given.
Yeah.
Okay, did anybody have a good question they want to share? No,
I don't have a question.
none of them were that good, huh?
I have an important thing that happened to my husband.
Okay.
One time he passed out, couldn't get him up. I had to call the ambulance for help. When they got there, his blood pressure was 35. And they discovered that he had been taking his high blood pressure pills twice a day together.
Okay.
And I said, well, I didn't know he was doing that, or I would have stopped it, you know.
Well, sure.
But he'd been doing it for quite a while, and finally caught up with him.
Yeah. Exactly. So when it says to take 2 a day, don't always assume that means
Yeah.
together.
And that's what he was doing. I'll just get them all away and take them all together.
Yeah, and I understand that happening. Any other questions? No. Yes, sir.
Is the bike a regulated more now than it used to be? You're talking all the time about putting it on as a federal list or something.
It's on one of the lists now. It's an opioid, so it's on the list, and it's probably the most prescribed opioid out there.
Yeah, it's very addictive though, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that's a question right there. What does opioid mean?
It's opium derivative.
Narcotic.
It's a narcotic.
Oh, is that what it's speaking of?
Absolutely.
Okay. I knew it was a narcotic, but I'm going, what does opioid mean?
It's an opium base, so it's poppy seed and all that good stuff.